More and more our society is blurring gender distinctions. Now, for the most part, conservative Christian leaders are standing up for what's right. They are teaching what the Bible says and fighting back against the blurring of distinctions. However, there's one area that I'd like to discuss where even the conservative Christian leaders are not speaking out against one type of blurring. Now remember, gender distinction doesn't mean that Yahweh prefers one gender over another. It just means that He's given us different roles to play in His creation. Now, to explain the absurdity of some of the gender blurring that happens sometimes when people interpret the Bible, I'd like to bring up a couple examples. For instance, Paul tells the older women to teach the younger women to love their husbands. Now, if we start flipping genders around on that, if we say, let the older men teach the younger women, or let the older women teach the younger men, then we destroy what the passage is trying to say. 1 Corinthians 14:35. And if they will learn anything, let them ask their husbands at home, for it is a shame for women to speak in the church. Now, if we try to make this passage apply both ways, and we say, the women don't speak in the church, that means also the men don't speak in the church, then nobody's speaking in church. Obviously, that doesn't work. And on the second half of that, when they go home, if the wives are supposed to ask their husbands, and the husbands are also supposed to ask their wives, then we don't have any actually answering the questions at home. So you see, it's ridiculous for us to take this passage as going both ways when it specifies husband and wife. Now here's one where every teaching I've seen is perfectly willing to flip the passage, to let it go both ways. Matthew 19:9. Whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery, and whoso marrieth her which is put away doth commit adultery. Most teachings immediately jump into gender blurring and say, if you divorce your spouse for any reason except fornication. But that's not what the passage says. Now you may think it's not fair for only men to be able to divorce for the cause of fornication. But let's look at what the other passages in the Bible say to see what the teaching actually is. Here's what Paul says about this. 1 Corinthians 7:10 and 11. And unto the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord, let not the wife depart from her husband, but and if she depart, let her remain unmarried, or be reconciled to her husband, and let not the husband put away his wife. Now Paul is saying, yet not I, but the Lord. He's saying Yeshua's general teaching is that the man should not divorce his wife, and the wife should not depart from her husband. In other words, the wife doesn't have the ability to put away her husband here. She would just be leaving. The husband, on the other hand, does have the ability to put away his wife. Now another passage that plays into this to understand why it is that a husband can divorce, but a wife can't. Let's look into Numbers chapter 30. In Numbers chapter 30, it points out that a man is required to keep his vows, and a woman can be released from her vow by her husband. So what we have in a marriage is a man and a woman who've made vows to each other. Now the man can't really be released from his vow. The woman can't release the man from that vow. She can't divorce him. The man, on the other hand, can release his wife from that vow. He can divorce her and allow her to go free. So, that's why a man can divorce a wife, but a woman could not divorce her husband. I'm Joshua Williams for DaringTheology.com.